We're now at this part of the forum, we're featuring the candidates for Whatcom County Council District 5. And that is the farmland district which covers northwest Whatcom County, west of Interstate 5, including Ferndale, Blaine, Point Roberts, Birch Bay, Custer, Marietta, Lummi Island, and the Lummi Reservation. There are 3 candidates on your ballot for this race, and we have 2 of them here today. And I'd like to introduce candidates Jamie Arnett and Natalie Mcclendon. Candidate Ben Ellenboss is unable to attend today. So the Whatcom County Council is the legislative branch of Whatcom County government. The county council is comprised of 7 members. 1 member is elected from each of the 5 county council districts, and 2 members are elected as the countywide at-large representatives. The county council exercises its legislative power by adoption and enactment of ordinances and resolutions. Whatcom County council members serve 4-year terms, and their annual salary is $35,802. The candidates will have up to 2 minutes each for an opening statement. They will have 1 minute to respond to each question and will make a 1-minute closing statement. Each candidate has a challenge card. Please raise your challenge cards. Candidates may use this card to challenge or rebut their opponent's response. The challenging candidate will have 45 seconds to state the challenge, and their opponent will have 45 seconds to respond to the challenge. Each candidate may use their challenge card just once. We have 3 timers down here, and they will be tracking the time, and they will flash a yellow sign. So this is for you candidates. They will flash a yellow sign when 15 seconds remain, and a red sign to signal that your time is up. If you continue to talk, however, a bell will be rung, like that, to signal the message, please stop talking now. We ask that the candidates be respectful of the time allotted due to the limited amount of time that we have and our desire to include as many questions as possible. Now, to the audience, an important goal of this league is civil discussion. To that end, we also ask that those of you in the audience be respectful and refrain from comments, as well as hold your applause until the conclusion of the debate. Some questions were prepared by our league question committee. We encourage members of the audience to provide written questions, which should be addressed to all candidates. Ushers are available to pick up your questions and bring them to the screening table down here. Ushers, just wave your hands so they can see you. We have 2. Questions will be screened by our league members, and they will be screening for legibility and clarity and to avoid duplication. Each candidate will be asked to respond to the same question during the debate portion. Now, for this debate, the candidates rolled a dice prior to coming here, and the high roller had the choice of going first with their opening statement or having the last closing statement. Candidate Mcclendon will go first. After we start, I will alternate which candidate speaks first as I ask the questions. So, with the rules all covered, let's get started. Timers, are you ready? Great. So, candidate Mcclendon, would you please give us your 2-minute opening statement?
Good afternoon. Thanks for everyone to come out on this glorious Saturday afternoon to learn about candidates. And it's my pleasure to be at this primary forum that I kind of had a little hand in helping get started last year. I'm Natalie Mcclendon. I'm running for the Coastal District County Council seat. As a grandmother, I focus every day on how to make the world a better place for my granddaughter and other future generations. I will work tirelessly to meet the challenges of climate change, and we must transition to a clean energy economy here locally, while also ensuring clean water for fish farms and families and build a shared prosperity. I've been a lifelong environmentalist. I have a degree in environmental politics and economics, before it was a thing, like at Huxley. And I've been active in the WIRA 1 Environmental Caucus in the last few years that deals with water planning. As a local small business owner, I also pay attention to market trends, disruptive technology, and changing regulations, all of which are challenging to the success of local businesses. To support our families, we need strong communities of 21st century family wage jobs, affordable housing, and rural broadband. My business is Turner Photographics with my ex-husband and current partner, 25 years locally. Had been active in the Chamber of Commerce of Blaine, Birch Bay, and Ferndale, all in the coastal district. I look forward to answering questions, and I'll stop there.
Thank you, Candidate Mcclendon. Okay, Candidate Arnett, your 2-minute opening statement, please.
My name is Jamie Arnett. I am running for Whatcom County Council in the 5th District. I am a single mom and I have 3 jobs. I'm the executive administrator for Boundary Fish Company in Blaine. I grew up in the commercial fishing industry. My grandfather ran a gill netter right out of Blaine Harbor. I'm a grant writer for Animals as Natural Therapy in Bellingham. We provide therapeutic services to at-risk youth and veterans, and I am a Blaine City Council member. I never thought that I would run for office, and I certainly didn't think that I would have the time, but I am driven by passion for change. Our campaign has 3 platforms moving forward. The first is environmental, but because we've had a difficult time getting people to the table to discuss environment for environment's sake, we're going to talk about the jobs. Commercial fishing in Whatcom County employs nearly 1,800 people and brings in $94.5 million in wages. It's significant to the fabric of our community and also to our economy. But we have been disproportionately impacted by climate change and pollution. Low in-stream flow in the Nooksack River has led to lethal water temperatures for fish. Agricultural runoff and failing sewer pipes have closed shellfish beds. And I think that we can address most of these issues at the county level: prioritization of water conservation, and not approving fossil fuel projects that will lead tankers through our Salish Sea, and better land use planning. Our second platform is affordable housing. I worked for Habitat for Humanity in both Washington and Oregon, advocating for affordable housing solutions for low-income families, and I come with ideas. And the last is better access to mental health resources. I know the struggle of trying to get a loved one help during mental health crisis in Whatcom County to a tragic end. My husband took his own life in May of last year. So I think that we can do better, and that's why I'm running for office.
Okay, thank you, Candidate Arnett. First question, Candidate Mcclendon. Would you support the county passing a resolution acknowledging a planetary climate emergency and pledging to consider it when making decisions? And please explain your answer.
So I don't know what would be on that resolution, but certainly climate change is my absolute #1 priority, and it will be on my mind with every decision that I make on the county council. A resolution stating an emergency, and I know I've discussed this with Bob, who I assume would ask the question. Usually emergencies come with some kind of, you're sweeping away or suspending certain rules in order to do things faster, and I certainly wouldn't support that sort of thing, but climate is my #1 priority.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Arnett, would you support the county passing a resolution acknowledging a planetary climate emergency and pledging to consider it when making decisions, and explain your answer?
Yes, I would. I think that we are facing a climate crisis, and it's time that we take measures to ensure that we aren't contributing to that. I think that we need to be working closely with our Climate Impact Advisory Committee to come up with solutions to address climate change at the local level. So yes, I am definitely in support of an ordinance or a resolution that states that we are in a state of crisis for our climate.
Okay, thank you. Question number 2, Candidate Mcclendon. Is there a situation where you've been able to facilitate collaboration among polarized groups about an important topic? If so, can you share what you learned from this experience that would help you in your role as a county council member?
Are we going to alternate?
Yeah.
Because I went first.
Oh, okay. So, candidate Arnett, go ahead.
My time as a Blaine City Council member, I've worked a lot with people who have polarized viewpoints. One case in point would be dealing with taxes, and people are very passionate about taxes. Recently, we passed a B&O tax in Blaine, and there was a lot of pushback from the local community, people thinking that we were going to not encourage business growth, but we were diligent in reaching out to local businesses, and we're really surprised to see that letting them have the chance to weigh in and help us craft that tax, we were able to come to an agreement, and the tax passed unanimously, and people seem to be pretty happy about it. Even the wholesalers, my own business included, we were happy to provide extra tax money for necessary services in Blaine.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Mcclendon.
So for about 4 or 5 years, I was chair of the Whatcom Democrats, and some people describe that as like herding cats. And while it's an organization that you think would be fairly like-minded, it definitely is not. Lots of very strong opinion people. And I found the best approach was to scrupulously provide a fair process where people feel heard, genuinely feel heard, and involved in the process. And usually, if you've been successful at that, they will accept the result, even if it doesn't, if it's not the one they were looking for. And I would use that approach as well on the council.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Mcclendon, question number 3. Do you think there are partnerships that the county can engage in with the tribal sovereign nations in our county to encourage economic development and the creation of living wage jobs?
I'm sure there are partnerships, and I would encourage us to work with all the government entities in the county to find ways to create and support businesses and create living wage jobs. We do need to recognize that the tribes are, when we talk about a government entity, they see themselves, rightly so, as on par with the federal government. And so oftentimes when they talk about government, they really mean the federal government. So, it's really about developing relationships and working collaboratively. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Arnett.
I think it's absolutely essential that we partner with local tribes to work on living wage jobs. I would like to see them more often read in as stakeholders. In the past, we have failed to do that, and I think that dealing with Cherry Point, which is in their backyard, that we need to be cognizant of the fact that that we are on their land and that they are a primary stakeholder. And I also think that we can work with them to reinvigorate the commercial fishing industry. As I've stated before, it's still, as a heritage industry, it's still powerful to our economy and the fabric of our community, and I think that we can work with them in a number of ways to create living wage jobs in Whatcom County.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Arnett, question number 4. Do you think the county has a role in creating additional permanently affordable housing units? And if so, what do you suggest? If you do not believe the county has a role, please explain why.
I think that the county does have a role and that it's going to be vital to our economic development in the future. We cannot create living wage jobs if we have nowhere to house people. I'm an advocate for inclusionary zoning to create those houses so that we can incentivize density bonuses and offer multifamily unit tax credits. I think that it's imperative that we provide workforce and affordable housing so that Whatcom County can continue to grow.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Mcclendon.
So Whatcom County, really, the housing issue derives from what Bellingham does, because if Bellingham can't address their housing needs, people go out in the county, they go out into the small cities to find more affordable housing. So we need to look at what Bellingham is doing. And they've actually put in incentives, I should say, for affordable housing, low-income housing for at least a decade, if not more, and it's not been successful. I believe that the role of the county and the city needs to be in actually building our own housing. The Bellingham Home Fund is an excellent example of what we can do, and I would promote working on some kind of financial mechanism to help add money to that process.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Mcclendon, question number 5. Water supply, water rights, and water quality will continue to be county-wide concerns. What actions would you recommend county government take to ensure a safe, reliable, and adequate water supply for all uses in Whatcom County, especially during the summer months?
So this is probably one of the most difficult issues we have because it deals with time and geography. What we need to do is rationalize our water rights system to be sure that everybody who has a water right and is able to utilize it, and that we know how much water we have. I believe we have enough water in the Nooksack Basin to serve all our needs, but we're not, it's a very disjointed and uncoordinated effort. Probably the most important piece of this is water conservation, which the cities are doing. It's not that the cities are wasting water, but it's actually the greatest amount of water is used by agriculture, and we need conservation there.
Thank you. Candidate Arnett.
Yeah, like Natalie said, we need to prioritize water conservation, and we need to perhaps provide incentives to agricultural, to farmers, that they can get equipment that is not wasteful of our water. We can look at water banking. We currently have a use it or lose it system, so we can water bank and we can avoid urban sprawl, which will also help with water conservation. I think there's a number of things that Whatcom County can do to keep our water supply flowing.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Arnett, question number 6. What is your opinion on current plans for reducing pollution in Lake Whatcom? Do you think they will be cost-effective in the long term?
So reducing pollution in Lake Whatcom, there's a number of things that I think have been looked at and are good ideas. First of all, we need to stop building new homes on Lake Whatcom. That doesn't make any sense. We can start planting native vegetation along the shores of Lake Whatcom to keep pollution from coming into the water. We need to take a look at the use of recreational vehicles in the water on Lake Whatcom, which is probably unpopular, but it doesn't make sense that we are polluting our water supply. That's our drinking water. I also think that we've offered incentives for people to take out lawns and put in permeable surfaces, and I really like that idea. I think that we can do a lot to green our great stormwater, and that will help with pollution in Lake Whatcom.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Mcclendon.
So the Whatcom County Council is currently considering a new Lake Whatcom Stormwater District, which would assess a fee to property owners in the district to help pay for stormwater runoff facilities that would keep, and the main issue with pollution that's degrading the water quality is with nitrates and phosphates running into the lake from disturbed soils. And so I support the stormwater fee. I think it's a reasonable step, and it is similar to what we've already been doing in Birch Bay with the Birch Bay storm. It's called BB Warm. I can't ever remember what it stands for. But anyway, we have a good track record on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Mcclendon, question number 7. The voters have twice rejected the jail bond for construction of a new jail in Ferndale. What do you think the county should do about the current jail?
So the current jail really must be replaced. We cannot remodel and upgrade ourselves out of a dangerous situation. It's not seismically safe, nor, and there's fire hazards that we really can't fix. I support a smaller jail downtown. I think the proposal that Barry Buchanan and others are working on, I'm very interested in seeing what they're going to come up with. Since the jail tax was turned down 2 years ago, the Incarceration and Reduction Task Force has done a fantastic job working across with all the stakeholders, law enforcement, courts, health department, et cetera, to find ways to reduce the jail population, because 60% of the jail population is pre-trial.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Arnett.
Yeah, I'd first like to say that I think that sometimes we just need to take the easy approach, and if we want to solve overcrowding in our jail, we stop putting as many people in it. So I am very much in favor of utilizing diversion programs. Making upgrades to the jail that we have is absolutely essential as we transition to a new jail, a much smaller jail, located in Bellingham, closer to access to resources and services. I understand that our current jail will not be sufficient. At some point, you are throwing good money after bad. So definitely in favor of the much smaller jail in Bellingham with triage services for mental health and addiction.
Okay, Candidate Arnett, this next question is a follow-up on that one. What do you think the County Council can do to support the criminal justice reforms suggested by the Incarceration Reduction Task Force and those that the Prosecutor's Office is working on with local law enforcement?
That's a good question, because I don't know much about the task force and what they're working on. I'm hoping that it's diversion programs as a priority, but I'm going to turn that one over to Natalie.
Okay, thank you. Natalie?
So the Incarceration Reduction and Prevention Task Force is working on a lot of fronts. Pretrial release, they're working on a risk assessment so that they can, rather than just set a bail, and because everyone's entitled to bail, they can actually know whether it's a real risk to the community to release somebody. And then using techniques like home monitoring and just no technique at all except reminding them through text message that their court date is coming up. There are all sorts of interesting techniques and projects that they have come up with, and the county council members are a part of that committee, that task force, and they can support them by knowing what's going on and pushing through their recommendations when they come to them.
Candidate Mcclendon, question number 9. The county's traditional methods for sharing information and plans, such as print media, no longer exist or do not reach all residents. Rumors and misinformation can easily spread via social media. What are your proposals for modernizing county outreach and community engagement?
So I've served on the Planning Commission for about 5 years now, and what I see, when somebody shows up that's angry or misinformed, it's really because they don't follow government every year or every month, let alone every year, and what they thought they could do with their land may have changed. And so I have this one specific idea, and that is we mail to every property owner once a year their tax statement, their new assessment. And we can put on that statement information about their property, what its zoning is, what the zoning means, whether they're in critical areas, whether there are any other overlays that affect their ability to use their property. It would take very little additional money.
Candidate Arnett.
So communication with Whatcom County is almost non-existent. I've personally spent some time on the website trying to find answers to things, to just know what's being discussed, and it doesn't exist. So I would like to see a better social media platform. I would also like to see updates to the website and getting content that is essential put on the website. Perhaps people could subscribe to email blasts. I know in Blaine we recently reached out to residents to see what they would want in the form of communication, and the majority of people had asked for social media updates. So we have recently really launched a program that focuses on getting that information to Facebook and to Instagram, and we decided not to go with Twitter, but I think it's important.
Okay, you have a challenge question?
It's not a challenge. I just want to follow up that for the people who are listening, at least, the Whatcom County has a long list of email notifications that you can sign up for on all the different task forces and boards, county council meetings, and it's very easy to go in and pick what you want to hear from. It's just an email notification. So.
Okay, thank you. And you want to you have 45 seconds to respond.
And I think that that's wonderful, but the majority of Whatcom County residents do not know that they can sign up for emails for these committee updates. So at some point, we have to tell people how they can access their information.
Okay, thank you. Candidates, this is the last question, question 10. And candidate Arnett. It is generally agreed that available mental health services do not meet the need in this county, even for those able to afford private care. What action, if any, do you think the county should take to increase the availability of such services in our community?
As I said previously, my husband struggled with paranoid schizophrenia, and we had repeatedly tried to access mental health care resources in Whatcom County to no avail. Generally, we were told there was a 1 to 2 week bed for a wait for beds at longer term care facilities. So I will be advocating for an interim emergent care facility that helps people bridge that gap between the 1 to 2 weeks, because oftentimes they don't make it, and we didn't make it. And I think that will probably come in the form of a property tax. I'd like to see a 1% property tax to have that facility built, because it's an essential service.
Okay, thank you. Candidate McClendon.
So Whatcom County already has a mental health tax that has been paying for a lot of great services, but I recognize, and it's very clear, that there is probably the biggest problem is a lack of providers. We actually, because of our high cost of living, high cost of housing, and generally low wages for social service providers, we don't have enough people. And I'm not sure what the solution to that is, but at least we know, at least I'm going to be looking at that issue. State of Washington has actually beefed up their training of mental health providers in this last legislative session. They're going to build a new facility and training at UW.
Okay, thank you. You have 45 seconds for a challenge.
I just wanted to follow up that with the tax that she's referring to, it's 0.1% for a sales tax, and the majority of that is being used for jail services, so it's not able to bridge the gap for us between getting people immediate mental health care.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to respond to that, Candidate McClendon?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, candidates, you now have the opportunity to make a 1-minute closing statement. So, Candidate Arnett, we'll start with you.
9 years ago, I was standing in a welfare line in Bellingham with a baby strapped to my chest, bawling because I had no money and I didn't know where my husband was and I needed help. And that was a defining moment in my life. And I somehow carved out a life for my son and I have dragged as many people up out of the trenches as I possibly could along the way. I have written home repair programs for the elderly, disabled, and veterans to keep them from being displaced from their homes. I have hired women directly out of jail with ankle bracelets still attached. I have worked with DSHS in both Washington and Oregon to put families on TANF back to work. And that sort of fight is what I'm going to bring to Whatcom County Council. I think that we all are able to have a seat at the table, and I'm going to ensure that we all get there.
Okay, thank you. Candidate McClendon, you now have 1 minute to make your closing statement.
Okay, thank you. So as a community activist, I've been honing my leadership skills and building relationships around the county for almost 30 years. I was chair of the Whatcom Democrats, as I've referred to before, and I believe in open, accessible, fair process for all who wish to participate. I've served on the Planning Commission for over 5 years, including a year as chair. I'm endorsed by Port Commissioner Bobby Briscoe, Piggy Vargas, County Council members Todd Donovan, Rudd Brown, Satpal Sidhu, and former Councilman Ken Mann, Lummi Indian Business Council member Henry Kagi, the Sierra Club, and the Teamsters Union. These people are people that I've worked with, and they know me, and they know that the kind of leadership that I can provide. I am ready to lead on the County Council. I'd appreciate your support.
Thank you. So please join me in thanking these candidates for being here and for running for public office.